went on this quest to change my life and heal myself because I was taking so much medications. I wanted to heal naturally myself completely.
Thanks for tuning in today to a new show, The Vibrant Soul Society, The Conversations, where in every word, the universe explores itself. I'm your host, Baba Sam, the Miracle Man. And today we have a very special guest with us tonight. This is Latasha Smith. So welcome, Latasha.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So who is Latasha?
Oh my goodness, such a wonderful question. I'm a retired disabled veteran. I use those terms just as terms. I don't let them define me, but I retired from the Navy. I did 20 years in the Navy as a hospital corpsman. My specialty was in mental health. So I worked in mental health in the Navy, treating not just Navy and Marine Corps, but all branches of service with various different aspects of mental health conditions. I retired. I was medically retired because at the very end of my career, I went on the deployment. And I came home from that deployment with all kind of medical condition. It was very concerning. So I was at the very end of my career where you're supposed to advance and right in that space to just move forward and couldn't. I was diagnosed with, initially it was fibromyalgia, then it was lupus. And then the diagnosis kept coming. And unfortunately, you can't be in the military with those things. So they medically retired me and I was struggling in life. With that diagnosis, I had gained a bunch of weight. I was up to about 258 pounds. I had compounding medical conditions. I saw some of your videos in which you talk about like pain and your challenges with multiple sclerosis. And so I'm sure you're familiar with those, what do they call them? Autoimmune disorders. And it just really just changed my life. I was very depressed for the medical conditions, but it just so many different things. So I went on this quest to change my life and heal myself because I was taking so much medications. Too much. And so I was living life. I decided to have weight loss surgery and that changed my life. It was like one of the best things that ever happened to me. That did come with some challenges, but it allowed me to lose the weight, to be able to be mobile, to really just start tackling these health challenges. And I was doing that. Did the weight loss surgery in 2017. And so from 2017 to 2020, I was just in counseling, working on myself. I experienced a lot of trauma in the military, some previous, some after. And so just really just doing a lot of counseling and thought I was in a great space. I was living a regular life. I say regular life prior to a spiritual awakening. I was a Christian. I was a practicing Christian. COVID happened. It changed everything for me. I'm not really sure. It was weird. When COVID happened, I just knew I had this feeling like, okay, something is going to be different. I'm going to be different or it's going to be different. And it's COVID happened. I had just purchased what I thought was my forever home. I had just had a brand new home built and I was living in South Carolina at that time. And I just decided to put my home on the market and moved to Florida for happiness. I've always wanted to live in Florida. And so I did it. And right at that time, as I was planning to move to Florida, I met this gentleman and I say turned my life upside down because at that point, I had a spiritual awakening. And all of a sudden, I had always questioned religion, even my own religion, even Christianity. I'd always questioned it. And my mother did the best she could with providing the information about religion and Christianity. But it was something about COVID, meeting this man where all of a sudden none of that stuff made sense anymore. So much so that I just was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I walked away from Christianity in 2020 when I met this man. And right after meeting him, I just started to have this calling to learn about spirituality. So I just really started studying spirituality. I came across this term, twin flames, and it just resonated with me. And that's when I discovered, after doing some research, that the man that I'd already met and we had already planned to marry was my twin flame. So I meet this man, have this spiritual awakening, go away from Christianity. And then one day I had a Kundalini awakening. And for me, how I describe that is, I say weird at that time because I didn't know how to explain it, but it felt like this feeling in the base of my spine. And I was laying on the couch and it just went up my spine and I just sat up And all of a sudden, I was just completely different at that point. I'm not sure of the word or the terms. Because I was in the military, I joined the military when I was 17 and I grew up in the military. I struggle with the terms and spirituality. So switching from speaking in the military to civilian and then spirituality, I don't get caught up in the terms. I don't. I use some of them because some of them, they help explain what I have going on. I'd say a dream, but I wouldn't be sleeping. I would be awake and then I would have a knowing about something or a vision that somebody was going to die and then they would happen. Just a lot of things. I started to seek out a shaman. I didn't even know what that was, but I had this urge to n- find a shaman because I wanted to heal. I wanted to heal naturally myself completely, like without medication. I just needed to heal all of this stuff and be done with it. And so for about 2 years, I was seeking a shaman. I went to Costa Rica. I've been everywhere, trying to find a shaman and just learning about spirituality, healing myself, trying to pass on knowledge to help others if they so choose. I took up Reiki only to find out that I had been doing Reiki. I was doing in the Navy, we did this thing. I had a nurse that taught me about what did she call it? Healing touch, where you just hold your hands over a person. If they're not feeling well, just hold your hands. And I remember her telling me it just balances energy, but that was so long ago, maybe in 2000. So I didn't remember that, but only to find out that I had been practicing some form of Reiki, whether it was just even when I pray, just touching myself, telling myself I'm okay. For the past, I would say about 3 years, or what is this, 3 years, 4 years, I just had a calling just to help people, just to share my journey with the hope that something that I've been through, maybe some of the tools that I've used, or even just being here as a support, can help somebody else in their journey.
So there's a lot of things that go through, and I just want to touch on some of these points so we can dive a little bit more into these. So you did join the Navy when you're very young. So what was the deciding factor that the Navy was right for you?
Oh my goodness, that's such a funny story. I grew up in a military household. My stepfather was in the Navy. He was enlisted in the Air Force first, and then he joined the Navy. So I grew up a Navy brat. And I initially I tried to join the Air Force, but I got disqualified for flat feet. So I ended up in the Navy by default. It wasn't my first choice, but I obviously that's me of what God wanted, where He wanted me to be, because that's where I ended up. So, and it was which sounds really funny, why you shouldn't be able to join the military when you're 17. I love the uniform. I thought that it looked great on women. And if you have to work, go join the military, do your time, knock it out, and then you can just be retired and hang out.
And then you were talking about your health challenges. So what was it like? You had fibro, you had all these challenges. What was going on in your own mindset in your life at that time?
My goodness. You know what? Now that I'm 10 years past those initial diagnoses and stuff, I can look back and say that it's everything that I've learned, that it comes from trauma. I worked in mental health in the Navy. And so my entire job was to care about other people, not to talk about myself. Of course, you can't talk about yourself. So everything that I experienced, I just stuffed down and stuff down, put it in a box, move it in this box, put it in this space. And it just came out, but came out, and it came out in the form of medical conditions that there's no cure. There's no cure for lupus. There's no cure for fibromyalgia. You just have to take these medications and hope they help you, but they didn't help me. They didn't. They made me worse. As a matter of fact, they literally made me worse. It was a nightmare, like just being in pain, just being in pain that no one can see. With those conditions, people can't see that you're in pain, but you're in so much pain that it just hurts to even be touched, to have a hug, to it just changes. You become dependent on other people. You're not the same person. And it changed me as a person. It was one of the most hardest times of my life. It was so sad. It was so sad. Very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, because people could not see what you were experiencing, so that had to make it a lot more difficult because people don't see these ailments and
That's right. They don't see it and they don't believe you. If you tell somebody that you're in pain every day, so much pain that you can't get out of bed, that you can't cook, that you can't care for your children, that people get tired. I was married previously, and my previous husband, my children, so everybody was trying to help take care of me and I couldn't take care of myself. And it was so debilitating, embarrassing, so much shame. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're not dealing with those health challenges now, 10 years after the fact?
What I say is military says I'm 100% disabled, and I say I'm 100% healed because I had the weight loss surgery and I came off all of those medications. I don't take any medications for any of those conditions that I had. And it's a daily challenge for me to manage what would you say, like the symptoms. I do struggle with pain sitting for long. There's things that I really do struggle with that are a challenge, but I don't let them stop me from living the life I want to live. I do modify, I do, but I just don't let those things challenge me. I don't go to the doctor because when you go to the doctor, they tell you that you're sick. And I'm not sick. I'm not sick. I'm not sick. So I don't go to the doctor unless I have, which is not good because I have a medical background. I will say, oh, yeah, no, I already know what it is. It's this, is that. So I'm not going to go. But in a way, it helps me because I don't like going to the doctor because they want to give you medications. They don't help. They want to poke and prod you, all these tests, and then they just want to give you another diagnosis. And I don't need another one. I don't want another one. So as far as the military is concerned, sure, yes, I have those conditions. Yes, I do. Okay. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I'm healed and I just need to live a life that is of low stress. I need to eat the right foods. I need to have exercise and I need to take care of myself.
I think that's very important not to be defined by the labels, not accepting that
Mhm.
as your truth. Yes, the body
Yeah,
has this, but that's not me.
that's right. That's right. The body has it. And if I keep doing the things that I'm doing, working and healing myself, then eventually, because I think they said in 7 years, your body, all the cells regenerate in your body. Just give me a couple more years and I'm gonna have all those whatever cells that said I had fibromyalgia and lupus and all those things. Give me a couple more years, those cells will be gone. I'll have some new ones. That's how I'm looking at it.
Right. I like that. That's a great attitude to have. The body's replacing itself
That's
constantly.
right.
Just that's all we have to do. But then you talked about some pretty wild experiences. It sounds like this, your new husband, I guess you say that now he's your twin flame. And that sounds like it's
Yes,
made a big, huge difference in your life as well.
most definitely. That is an experience that I can say that I didn't know about spirituality at the time that I met this man. I was in a relationship that I knew was not good for me. And I just remember one day just praying to God, like, God, it's so funny because my relationship with God, and I say God as a person or male, he, but I already know that is not it. That's just what I'm used to. But that's the relationship I have with he. We know what it is. Everybody uses their own terms and pronouns or whatever. But I was praying to God and I was telling him, like, Lord, I have had a successful career. I have gotten education. I have some beautiful children. At that time, had a grandchild and I had owned homes. I had all these things. I was running down all the accomplishments. And I said, I just have not been successful in love. I am looking for my person. I want my person. I want them to come in quickly because I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm looking for the X, Y, and Z. But I was crying. I was crying. I was very upset. And then I don't know, 7 months later, this man shows up. And in the prayer, I remember saying to God, I want to know that it's him, but he has to have gray hair. I love gray hair. He needs gray hair for character. And here shows up this guy. And I was like, you're literally it. You're it. You're this, you're the person I prayed for. You're the guy. You're it. So it's cool to have this connection with God to where what I prayed for, he presented and I recognized it.
Mm.
And so when I met him, that's what I figured it was, that he was just this man that I prayed for. But as I said, right after meeting him, something about talking to him, I've done some videos on it about hearing his voice and then seeing him. It was this crazy recognition of, I've seen you before. I know you. It was just like so familiar. And immediately I had this instant knowing that I needed to change. There was a lot of things that I needed to change and work on. And so for me, it's been a maybe of learning myself, healing myself. Th- Meeting this man he's a mirror to me every day, all the time, of the good, but also the bad. And so it's just been a force. Initially, I just felt, I didn't even know, because I didn't know what twin flame was. I felt forced. It was like, okay, I got to get back in counseling. I need to work on this. I need to work. It just, all this stuff just started coming up, stuff that I didn't even know, abandonment issues, what lack mentality, scarcity mentality, generational trauma and drama, and just so much stuff. It just started to come out. And I embraced it. I embraced it. It was rough. There are days and times. There has been so much within this relationship that has been a challenge. That made me want to just walk away, made me want to give up. But it has been such a blessing to learn these things. Wow. This is how you've shown up. Was this the type of person that you want to be? So it's basically, I've been given a choice. I'm given the choice every day to, am I going to be a good person, the best version of myself, or am I going to go back to behaviors and show up in ways that I used to? And every day is for me. I say yes to healing. I say yes to being the best version of myself, and just making the choice to just heal and grow every single day.
It's definitely very interesting, the synchronicity of the universe that shows up when you make that commitment, say this, and making that demand, if you will, of the universe, of consciousness, whatever you wish to call it, and then seeing that synchronicity, then recognizing it. A lot of people don't recognize that synchronicity. They keep asking and asking, but here it is.
Yes, it's really funny because within the twin flame community, I join a lot of the Facebook groups to just try to connect with other people, because I've had a challenge of finding people that are actually, the term they use is like in union with their twin flame. And I know I'm with him and I'm married to him and I live with him every day. So trying to connect with other people that are similar, and there just aren't that many. It's been a lonely journey of just trying to find others who are experiencing what I was going through, because there were times that I felt like I needed confirmation about what was happening and what was going on with me. I couldn't find it. So I had to rely on my own intuition, my own thoughts and feelings, and what I felt was right for me.
Hmm, that's perfect. Yeah, your own thoughts and feelings and what is right for you is so perfect. Using that feelings, using that intuition, saying, this is my path, this is my way forward. And that is why the synchronicity happens. You are in that space of being this vibrant soul, you could say, of not being defined by your previous labels, not defined by your past, saying,
Yeah.
this is who I am, and it's okay to be me and trust
Yes.
myself. It is a perfect way. And then there's some other things that you're talking about as well. A lot of people don't really talk about the Kundalini and what that experience is, because I went through that myself. So it's just very interesting. So let's talk a little bit more about that Kundalini. How did it presented itself for you, and what really sparked it, if you will?
Yes. I'm not sure if this is controversial for your channel, but I'm a medical marijuana user. After having the weight loss surgery, my stomach, it's some type of trauma. And so I have a hard time with taking medications, with even drinking water. And so that is how I treat myself. And so I was laying down on the couch and I'm a meditator. And so there are times where I will use the medical marijuana to meditate, to get into it's just like a very deep space. And I was laying down on the couch one day, having the medical marijuana. I just set an intention to just receive from God. I was just like, I just want to connect. I had no idea what I was doing. So I laid there, closed my eyes, I meditated, I was
Hmm.
laying down, and then all of a sudden I felt this. Maybe it started like this in my back, and then all of a sudden it just felt like it went and it just like the energy just went straight up my spine. I was laying down, my eyes were closed, meditating, and then I sat up, opened my eyes, and then I looked around and I just started seeing angel numbers. I saw 3333. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was so funny. If there was like hidden camera or something, it would have been like a hilarious moment because I was by myself. But all of a sudden I knew things. It was just like I just know things. I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't even I just went with it until I came across information about twin flames. That's when I found out about the Kundalini. So that had happened months prior. So then I had to piece it all together. Oh, that is what was happening. And so now what happens whenever, for whatever, if I do Reiki or sometimes if I have contact with other like spiritual people when I do meditation. So now just it happens randomly.
When you're using your tools, you're feeling this energy. Is that what you're trying to say? You tap into who you really are, you could say, that spirit, that consciousness. Then you feel this energy. Is that a way to
Yes.
explain it?
Yes. Yes. And for me, it wasn't painful. I've heard some people talk about it being painful, but I have not been resistant to the spiritual journey and awakening either. I didn't know what was happening. And so I think that for me, it was very pleasant. It was extremely pleasant, actually. I just was like, oh my gosh, I just feel amazing and different. I enjoyed it. I'm glad to now know what it is and I embrace it.
Mhm. Let's talk about your tools, like your
Yes.
Reiki and stuff.
Yes. I don't even know how I ended up I watch Reiki all the time. I went to Costa Rica the very first time and I had a Reiki session there. And it was after that, I just kept saying, oh, everybody should go get Reiki. I don't even know what it is. I don't know what happened, but you should go get it. I felt, initially, I felt really good. I felt warm sensations and tingling. And I saw colors when you close your eyes and I seen a bunch of colors and I feel all this warmth. And then afterwards, like a couple days later, I was crying. I was journaling like crazy. I felt sad. I couldn't figure out what was going on. But then in the day it passed. And ever since then, it's just been doing Reiki. I got tuned to Reiki Master. I feel so hot. I see colors. I love Reiki. I think that everybody should do Reiki it just balances you out no matter where you're at. If you're too high, meaning like all spun up and anxious, do a small session of Reiki. It just brings you down. If you're really low, it brings you up. It's just for me, it's just been amazing. I think that it's been one of the major tools for me on my journey. Reiki, journaling and meditation. And for me, medical marijuana. Those are my four, but those are my go-tos every day.
Yeah, so what you're describing before, really with that energy, feels like the descent of grace, if you will, that grace energy of soul, of spirit, because it's very warm, very loving, very
Yes,
nurturing. It's a very
yes,
nurturing
yes,
energy.
yes,
And it sounds like
yes.
you're tapping into that energy once again, once you're utilizing the tools like Reiki or whatever it may be, you're tuning into who you really are and allowing that grace, if you will, to come through you. So you're almost like a conduit for
Wow.
spirit.
Yes, it's really funny. I have been looking for a mentor because I've been studying shamanism since last year. Once I got the Reiki attuned, it was funny. As soon as I got Reiki attuned, it was like, I need a shaman right now. And attended a course with the Shift Network. They have a bunch of shamans on there. And I went to one of the classes with Sandra Inkerman. And so I learned how to journey and I have a drum and all those things. And so I do journey from time to time. And it's such interesting experience in my mind. Either way, I liked it because it was pretty cool. But just talking with some people afterwards, sharing my experiences, doing the journeys and stuff. It's real. It really is real. And I would love to connect with other people to get this word out, especially other people like me that to know that there are other ways to heal yourself. There's not a one size fit all spirituality and you can do your own things. You have to do what works for you.
So is that where you help people now is to try help them to find their path, if you will, or using your various tools? Can you talk a little bit more about how you're helping individuals?
Yes, I think that for me, what I found is like when you go to the doctor, they know it all, right? They tell you, hey, you take this medicine, you go do this, and then come back to see me. When that doesn't, that approach doesn't work for everybody. We have to find our own individual approach. You have to find what works for you. And even in that, I have a set of tools. I do, right? My go tos. But there are situations where something comes up and it is just out of the norm. And you just need, I feel like you need a broad spectrum toolbox so that when life situations come up, you can just grab in there and use different tools to help yourself because it's not, I can't help you. A doctor doesn't help you. You help you. You heal you. You have to do it. but I can, because I've gone through so many different things, I can share my experience. I can share the tools that I used and create a custom healing plan for you that we discuss kind of the challenges that you're having, tools that you've used in the past, where you want to see yourself going in the future, and then create a custom healing plan that you create. I don't create it. Just there's so many tools, EFT tapping, meditation that you don't just sit there and meditate. There's so many things that are out there that people just don't even know. So just, I like to help people in an individual custom way, create something that works for them. Some people need, like me, I don't need a whole bunch. I just need a little. You can give me a spark of an idea and I'm gonna run with it and I'm gonna create what I need for myself. Or there are other people who need more support, more hand holding. And that there's nothing wrong with that, because we're all individuals. We all need something different. Whatever you need. If you just need a quick phone call to be like, hey, I'm stuck with this. This is where I'm at. This is what I've tried. What do you think? Or do you have any suggestions? And I can throw something out and then that'll be it.
And that's where you help individuals is finding that little support that they need, that little nugget to get them on their way. But ultimately, you're instilling onto them that you heal you.
That's right. You are your best healer. You are your best healer. Reach out. I think that for me, I also want to stress that just because we're spiritual beings having a human experience, medicine is a great tool to assist, but it shouldn't be your only means. If you're going to the doctor and they're just pumping you with pills and you think that's going to cure you, medications, in my opinion, they just help with symptoms, that some of them don't treat the condition, right? There's some conditions that, you take this medication, you have an infection, you take this medication, yes, it's definitely going to heal that thing. But the other stuff, no, we got to figure out how to heal ourselves with the medical advances that God has allowed in this time. Use them as a tool, not as a crutch.
That's very good. Yeah, as a tool, not a crutch. A lot of people are using them as crutches. That this is my way. This is the only way, and they're only
Yes.
stuck in that. And that's
Yes.
where I'm reminding people that we are these vibrant souls in this human body. And that vibrant soul, the real, you could say, knows the way forward. And
Yes.
people like yourself are reminding you that you have the answer within you. Let's
So,
find that tool will help you discover you.
yes, sir. That's it. We can't go around asking other people like, it's not funny. I, I had to learn this too, like in the groups, especially the twin flame groups. People will get on there and they will put a question in there. Oh, this and this, I met this person and this is happening. Is this person my twin flame? No one can tell you that. Only you can tell yourself that. Is this medical treatment good and right for me? Only you can tell yourself that. Sit with yourself. I say meditate. Just sit with yourself. Close your eyes and ask yourself, is this thing good for me? Is this something that I want to do? Is this going to be helpful for me? Ask yourself, and listen to yourself, and yourself will answer you. It does.
Yeah, that is true. But what I'm finding, one of the things that maybe you discover this too, is people don't trust themselves.
We don't. We don't. But our society isn't set up for that. We are set up to follow the rules of every other person, do what everyone else tells you to do. Even in Christianity, it's like you're set to, it's so many rules, where in spirituality, like God doesn't operate like that. We have a choice. We have a choice in everything that we do. It's not, oh, don't do this or else. No, there's a choice. You can do this or this, and they both have consequences. Which would you like? Which one feels better for you?
That's really important. So, how would you help someone establish that trust within themselves? Because I think it's one of the big steps to healing is learning that first step of trust that you have the answer.
That is a really good question. And I'm not sure how to answer that.
Because you learned this yourself. You learned to trust yourself.
For me, I think it was a little, I've had a relationship with God since I was like very young. I remember having an experience with God when I was 5. So I've just always relied on God. But for the people that don't, you have to, if you can just look back at your life, this to me, I think should work for every person. Look back over your life and every challenge that you've had to face in your life. Have you overcome it? Yes, because you're still here. You are batting at 100% every time. So know that whether you made a good decision, God, the universe, whatever supported you. Whether you made a bad decision, God, the universe still supported you, are still here. So the fact that you are still here, you're obviously doing something right. So just trust yourself to know that whatever decision you make, you're going to be supported. You're going to be supported. So knowing that, take a little bit of time, do our due diligence, and just make better decisions. How do we do that? Just take time, check in with ourselves. Don't make emotional decisions. For me, I had to instill a process. I don't make decisions now. It has to be a 24-hour turnaround, especially anything that has to do with business, because I do things based off of energy and emotion. And sometimes you could be thinking that you're feeling something or seeing something that is not the whole picture. So you need to give yourself some time. So now anything that I come across, it needs to come in. I need to sit with it, meditate on it for 24 hours. If it's over the weekend or if I have something going on in my life, I need 48, 72 hours, and then I'll make a decision. Anything that requires I need an answer right now, it's a no for me because I don't do well with the pressure. I need time to see what is the best decision for me. So it's all about consulting yourself and then trusting the decision that you make, you will be supported.
Exactly, that you are supported, and I think you gave some good tips that you're batting 100, you're still here, so
Still here,
still
still
here,
here.
so
Even in the bad things, like I think about all the crazy things that I did. Thank God we didn't have technology back then, but I'm still here. Like God, that's grace, and God had grace and mercy with me, and I'm still here. And so because He's given me grace and mercy in those bad decisions that are, or maybe not so good decisions that I made in my past, and oh my gosh, I own them all, because He still allows me to be here. And I feel like being here every day is such a blessing. I want to do better with the time that I have here and make better decisions for my life going forward.
yeah, you're doing it, and I think you're probably helping a lot of people too that you're probably not even aware of, that you're making that impact on them. So how would they get in contact with you if they're interested in reaching out to you?
Yes, I have all of the medias. I have my website is divinelyguidedconsulting.com, and I have TikTok and Instagram, and my YouTube channel is all the same, Divinely Guided 1144. And yeah, just reach out to me. Reach out. I try to make videos just to share like my life and just my thoughts on things, just to try to help people. But on my website, you can reach out and book an individual one-on-one. And just my social media is more for I just like to share my life. I have some grandchildren, and she's about to be 5, and she watches my TikToks. So it's just the coolest thing. If nobody else watches my social media, my granddaughter does, and she thinks that I'm the coolest thing. And so if nobody else is watching them, my grandbaby is. So
Mm, that is a beautiful story about your granddaughter, absolutely beautiful. You're gonna make a big, huge impact in her life. She's gonna remember those times watching Nana saying, "Look at all this stuff."
we did a family Reiki session. And so my granddaughter, she got my drum. She loved it. She was walking around beating the drum. And then she saw me doing Reiki. I can tell you right now, if not a single soul watches my videos or anything, right now she's watching them. But when she gets older, she's going to be able to watch the YouTube videos where I'm talking about life and healing. And so for me, I'm famous. I'm like, that little girl thinks I'm a million. She says, my name is Noni. She's like, the song Million Dollar Baby is popular right now. She says, $1 million Noni. So that's yeah, right now I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for my grandchildren's children. I'm healing myself and putting this information out to help my family, myself. And I pray that it just helps every person. If they hear one thing that I say and it blesses them, that's my hope.
It was so great to have you on joining this conversation today. I'll have all your links there so people can find you, and I'm sure you're gonna make that big difference in the world to remind people that you are this vibrant soul. Let go of all this clutter,
Yes,
if you will.
yes, sir. Let it
Just
go.
just be you.
Yes, I was going to say, let it go and just be. I'm in my Barbie shirt. I love Barbie. I love pink. Just be. Whatever makes you happy, do it. It's you. Whatever makes you happy. You have all the power and control. It's all up to you.